I think some of the things that keep parents awake at night these days are exactly the same things that kept me awake at night. But I think there's so much more. And so I brought my niece Shawnie here today, Shawnie, to talk about that because I mean, there's so much more today, so many more cool things and technology and wonderful things about life. And then, with those same exact things come all the scary parts of life too. And I think, you could even think about when you were growing up, you guys had more than we had, right? Like I had to walk to school both ways in the snow uphill, and, we didn't have electricity. But I mean, seriously, you had more, but still, you didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
And I think, what would we do without the internet? But as a parent, I mean, what keeps you up at night? What scares you about raising kids in today's society?
Oh gosh, many things. I know that technology is a big factor, and obviously now we couldn't live without it. I mean, I do my groceries and my billing and run my life and manage our household and sign up for soccer class, everything through technology. But and our kids see that. And I actually try to be very mindful about not you won't catch me just scrolling mindlessly on my phone. If I'm doing something, I'm like, hey kids, I need to place this order. And so they know. Because I
that's
think
smart.
It's like the saying, you are not you are what you eat. I don't know why that came to mind.
But that it's similar.
But
you are what you mindlessly scroll.
Yeah, right.
I mean, seriously.
No, that's true. Or it more so what I'm trying to say is that what you see, what kids see, they normalize it.
Yeah.
It's normalized. And I don't want technology in a bad light to be normalized for them. I don't want them to think like, I'm just going to watch videos. And back when we were kids, it was like, you didn't get to watch TV all day.
No.
You got sent outside, go play outside. So it's kind of the same thing. So technology is scary, but for reasons such as social media and bullying and all of these things. And, I would never judge a parent by what they do versus what I would do differently. But I think it's just scary to see some kids that are very young having access to things because it's scary out there, even for adults to mess around.
But don't you think it just becomes kind of a convenient babysitter? And I don't mean to say that even in the most negative way, because I know there are good parents that find themselves doing that. And I think things become habitual to us.
Yeah.
We say addicting with regards to social media and stuff. And I think it absolutely can be addicting, but it can also just be a habit.
Yeah. Oh,
you pick the phone up and I love that you said that your kids don't see you doing this motion because that is mindless. We're literally waiting until something catches our attention.
Yeah.
And often
it's a dopamine hit that you're waiting for.
And have you ever, I mean, everyone's done it and found yourself going, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
I have no interest in this, but here I am.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And there's actually more and more research that is coming out about the effects of that mindless scrolling or kids, looking through YouTube videos or whatever, because it is their brain waiting for that dopamine and I don't know all of the information, but
that makes sense.
How it refreshes on the phone and all of that and the bright lights and all of that.
I was just going to say, what about eyes? I mean,
yes.
I wonder how many kids are going to be wearing thick glasses at 35. Yeah. I mean,
seriously,
no,
all that's true.
That screen time and
but beyond technology, I think that there are other things. When I was a kid, I thought my mom was strict because she didn't let me just go ride in a car with my neighbor's older sister or something like that. And it's like, are you kidding me? I thought my mom was strict.
You didn't have me for
a mom. They're not going to be able to leave the house without me. I mean,
but think about how we thought. It's funny when I knew you were coming today, and of course I didn't even tell you one single thing about what we were talking about today, but I had thought about talking about that perspective because I remember in my day, and I did plenty of things, my friends, plenty of things that absolutely horrified me to even consider my kids doing. And of course, Jamie took it to a whole new level. But I mean, just the fear of it. And I remember coming home one night when I was 16 on the back of a motorcycle at 3 o'clock in the morning. And excuse me, my mom, your grandma, she's waiting for me. And she's so mad because she was so scared. She didn't know how to communicate it well. No, she should have been mad. And I remember going, I'm fine. Obviously, here I am, I'm fine. We think we're so invincible. Mm-hmm. We're so smart. Like you said, they're being overprotective.
If only we knew then what we know now. That's the thing that I don't like about life. That is unfair. That is so unfair.
That they say that youth is wasted on the young.
Totally. Yep. Agreed.
And so another thing I remember thinking too is that as a parent, that parents get really stupid for a while around the time that you're a teenager, and then they get smart again. It's crazy. I can't believe, I don't know what happens. Yeah, they get dumb and then they get smart again. But isn't that the way it is? We kind of look at, and so you mentioned something too, Shawnie, that Rich really is the one who talks about that a lot, about how bullying is this thing. And I remember when I was growing up, I had red hair. People teased me about being a redhead because there weren't any others. But I was a strong personality, and that didn't get very far. Mm-hmm. Because, by the way, carrots have green tops, my friends. But I mean that's they had to stand in front of you and say it, say it to my face, kind of thing. Now, isn't everybody just so tough behind their whatever device?
Yeah.
And then I also think another thing too, it's not even so much, what if, Madison never is actually bullied per se. No one goes after her. Just the influence of what they're seeing.
Yeah.
How she's told every day how she's supposed to look. They're told, and what kind of bag they should carry when they're 12, or what kind of iPhone they should have when they're 10, or I mean, how do you even combat all that? Well, the device, I guess, is part of it.
That's definitely, but you can't keep them in a bubble as much as I would like to. So there is outside influence. But interestingly enough, I'm reading this book about peer influence on kids, and how back in the day, the influence was the family. It was
for sure
the parent. That's who, I mean, before, I don't even know what time we're talking, but maybe homesteading era.
Yeah.
Where that was your primary influence, and you looked to your grandparents and your, maybe your close neighbor or something like that, but it wasn't all of these peers, and how that's really affecting kids.
That's interesting you say that, because I was a latchkey kid, right? I was the one who didn't have a dad around, and I had a mom working. And so in a way, like Grandma always says, you guys raised yourselves, in a way we did that. But even having said that, you're right. We did not have 24/7 access to friends. Yeah. You had to go to their house. They had to come to your house.
You'd see them at school on Monday.
Right.
If you didn't have plans with them, or you didn't hear from them or see what they were doing, or see, this person's at a birthday party that I didn't get invited to. You didn't know that.
No, you had no idea. And even if you found out, it was 2 weeks later. Who cared, right? But you brought up another good point that I've really been thinking about lately too, is that in cultures, prior to maybe even when I was a kid, we valued age so much more than we value it now. Now we value youth. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'd rather be 25, rather, not have all this going on. Yes. But what comes with age truly is wisdom. I hope that most people end up wiser, and perspective. Mm-hmm. And not that we have all the answers. And I do think that some of the ways that people think that are younger nowadays, they're probably better than the way we think. The way a lot of parents are these days, I don't think is better, but I do think a couple things are. Parents explain things to their kids. In my generation, we didn't get explained to. Mm-hmm. Because the explanation was the back of the hand.
Yeah.
And I do think sometimes it should be because I said so, because you've been told 17 times. But I also do love that, they get to understand things better than we did. Mm-hmm. There's things like that. But one thing I've noticed, though, is this whole infatuation with looking younger, being younger. And one thing I've noticed that you do that Rich and I will talk about sometimes, that I wish more people would do. I was afraid of old people because I didn't know. I mean, I knew my grandparents, but they didn't seem old to me. Now, your kids go to not just the retirement center, they go to the memory care center. or some people aren't even verbal.
Yeah.
And they're just running around like it's a normal everyday Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. They love going there.
Yeah. But I think we as a society, we've kind of moved away from valuing the wisdom and now granted in the memory care, well, there's still some wisdom there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it is one of those things. I completely agree with what you said, in that maybe we just weren't exposed to the elder generation or taught that here's why they're important. I don't know what it is, but the older I'm getting, even recently, I'm thinking, wow, my grandma, your mom, has so much wisdom, and she's shared it with me over the years, and maybe I didn't appreciate it as much, or maybe I took it with a grain of salt rather than like as a pearl of life that should be like something like,
yeah,
that's great wisdom that I get to keep with me. And grandma, she loves to tell stories, and now sometimes she tells them over and over again.
In case you forgot
some of them.
Yes.
But I'm trying to capture those memories from her, because I just realized how important it is to make her feel seen, and I'm just so grateful for her.
Yeah, I love that you have that, but I think some of it isn't even really anybody's fault. Some of it is that this whole thing with youth, this obsession with youth, definitely has to do with the internet and the social media, and how everyone's supposed to look perfect all the time. I want to look good too, obviously. But I think some of it is that we're also seeing young people do incredible things. So some of the valuing of youth, I think, has to do with this visual that we're able to see everyone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my day, like you said, we only saw them, and we didn't have brands. You don't wear anything that had a brand name on it. It just didn't exist back then. But also we're seeing, CEOs of companies being 30 years old, mm-hmm. and we're seeing this movement toward, wow, look what it used to be. You were 50 before you accomplished something mm-hmm. like that. So that's some of it is just really I'm kind of awestruck, actually.
Yeah.
You can be smart and successful, but wisdom's something different.
Yeah.
And I think it comes with time.
Yeah. Experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Sometimes Madison will say to me, well, why are you so much better at that than me? I said, because I've done it a million times. That's why.
Exactly.
And that's why you're better than Mason, because you've done it more.
Yeah.
And I've also made more mistakes.
And that is a good point. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you something that I might not even look at my notes, but the balance between, because we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, the balance between keeping our kids safe and protecting them, because who wouldn't? Because I'm thinking that, Mason's just swimming and you probably shouldn't leave him out by the pool. Mm-hmm. These are just common sense. That and allowing them to have some adversity in their life so they can create courage. Because I know for a fact that some people are more courageous than others naturally, obviously, mm-hmm. but we don't just learn how to be strong. And I'm not talking about like courageous bungee jumping. I'm talking about courage inside your soul that comes from having faced hard things.
Mm-hmm. Reading my mind. I swear, I just read, and I don't know if it was a parenting article that I'm subscribed to, or maybe it was a podcast, but it talked about building strength is one of the best ways is by going through something that feels hard and feels challenging. And maybe it's not, I don't know, this is going to be a terrible example, but your house burnt down and you lost everything. Not to that level, but let's just say a kid, you told them 5 times, don't forget your coat, and they forgot their coat, and you see it, but you know what? They're the one who forgot.
Let them get cold.
Let them get cold.
Yes.
Let them experience, okay, this is my natural consequence because I didn't listen to my mom. And so I don't know if that's greatest example.
But you know what that does, Shawnie? Those little, in my example, so no, maybe that's minor. But then maybe there are a few other things that it's okay for them to go through. Like in school, they get in trouble. Like Sean knew for a fact. He would come to me and go, oh, the teacher did this. And we were just talking about this the other day. And I said, really? The teacher did that? Oh, they're getting fired. They're getting fired tomorrow. And he was like, well, whoa. I go, no, I'm going to the school tomorrow. And then the story sort of changed. But my point was that he knew
that this better be, and if it's all true, my mom's going to bat for me. Right? If really something, if he's wronged, I'm going to bat for him.
Yeah.
But if he's done something wrong, he's going to have to face the consequences of his actions. Because I do think that maybe that was such a minor example you used, but if, God forbid, you do get to a point where your house burns down and you lose all your things or whatever else happens in life, and you haven't had to face any adversity because people are saving you from it all the time. You're getting bailed out all the time, even from the little things.
Yeah.
You don't have the tools, so you don't even know. I mean, you fall apart long before your house burned down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have questioned when I read that article, I was like, wow, do we coddle our kids too much? I think it's such a balance where, and that's just one element, anything with parenting, you're like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that?
And the answer is nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Where's the manual? I don't know. But yeah, so I have thought that, I've wondered that, and I think that we can just do the best that we can in really, even from a young age, installing that there are consequences for your actions. And
it's called life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's hard because nobody wants to see their kid in pain. And remember how I don't know if your mom ever said it, but we'd hear this hurts me as much as it hurts you. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, right, sure. You're not the one I'm, grounding. But it's true. I mean, it really is true.
You didn't want them to do that in the first place. You're disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I know. And Sean was like, I think he might have exaggerates a little bit. If you're watching this, Sean, I think you're an exaggerator. Because you're like, my mom would put me on for 30 days. And then, it wasn't 29 point whatever. It was like, okay, 30 days are up. But the point is that he didn't get in a lot of trouble that all of his friends were getting into because he knew that I meant business. And it wasn't because I was mean. It was because this is what you have to learn in life. But anyway, I do think that what you face as a parent today, it seems a lot easier to some people. And in some ways, maybe it is because we have a lot more access to conveniences and things to make our lives easier and more activities, more options. But in so many ways, it is so much harder.
Yeah.
And that's why just even this little, hopefully it won't be little, thing that I'm doing with Lubadoos, obviously entertainment should not be taking the place of good parenting and, spiritual things and whatever all you're teaching your children. But in the entertainment world, I at least want to do something that has good values, that teaches courage, even though they're magical made up stories. I feel like I asked Madison when I had her here sitting here a while ago, I said, what do you like about adventure stories, just in general, right? And she said, because I feel like when you're in it, like you're in it, you feel like you're in the story. So I like that we could create something where even if just for like a minute, they can think, yeah, maybe I'm that brave too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And I agree. I think there needs to be more books and shows, and because I'm not saying all I know neither of us are saying all technology is bad, but before my kids watch a show, it's like, I'm going to look and see, what's like a good show that at the end of the day, they learn something, because they are going to take away from watching, whether it's good or bad. So
true.
That's,
you make such a good point to think that someone's going to watch, read, whatever, and then walk away. And I don't know, maybe some people do. I never do. I'm thinking about everything all the time. And you're not going to take anything. You just erase. I don't think that happens.
Yeah.
You're right. And even if it doesn't come up, I remember telling my kids a long time ago, and I'd say, you got to be careful of the music you listen
to. I remember you telling me that when I was little. Yes.
And I would say,
and I thought,
and you were like, she's a fuddy-duddy. But what I said is that your brain's like a computer, and everything's in there, and it might not show up right then.
Yeah.
But everything's collectively
experiences and what you go through and what you listen to and I know. Why did I not know that when you told me
Why
that?
Did you listen to me? No, because I was in my stupid phase. Yeah. Well, I think that's, all we can do is just, like you said, do your best and be mindful. And I'm not trying to be some parenting expert or anything, but I think it's really kind of cool to have people like you come and just so people can feel like they're not alone, even just what the challenges are.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there needs to be, I mean, Lubadoos is just, it's inspiring and hopeful, not just for kids. I mean, really, when I read the first book with Madison, it was just, it made me feel good and it inspired me. And so, just thinking as these little girls or boys are sponges, I just see the value in bringing the positive, and maybe they don't have that at home. And so maybe they get this book, and maybe there's not a parent who's invested, or they don't live with their parents, or whatever it is. So I just think that the mission is so important to our youth now more than ever.
Yeah, thank you. I just feel like at the core of everything is courage. Like, but that's the message I've been using for a very, very, very long time, because I think the bottom line is this: life is tough. And maybe when you're 7, life feels tough in different ways than when you're 47 or 67 or whatever, right? But life's not going to just hand you, rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah.
Right? We know firsthand that we've had very, very difficult things, more difficult than most people, than anyone we know, really.
Yeah.
And I'm good for them. But in some ways, life is going to be difficult. So that's why I just feel like teaching kids that adversity is okay. And it's also okay to be scared. In fact, no one's fearless.
Yeah.
We're all scared to death of something, but we can get through it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love that.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
Love it.
So come back and talk to me again.
All right. I would love to.
And bring Madison, because I know when she first arrived, she said she was really scared. I don't think she really wanted to do with it. And then I couldn't get her out the door.
Yes, she would love to.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, everyone.